Alright, I'm going to start a new file here. I'll just use the standard size. Click Create, and there we go. And I'll do a Save As immediately. And I have a folder called Animated Exercise, so I'm just going to call it Nested Armature. You should actually, you know what, I'll name it what I want you to name it, which is your last name underscore lesson number. I believe this is lesson 4. If it's not, just make it the appropriate number and save that. Okay, now first thing I'm going to do is just change my background color on the stage here. You can't see it because it's going outside of the area, but I'm going to pick this school bus yellow. And I'll name this layer buttons. I think we'll start on the buttons first, but I'll create a layer for the animation as well. And just hang on to that. And a layer for my action script. So actions. And you do have to have the S at the end. Okay, actions. I will save that. Okay. So I actually had another layer in my demo. Maybe I'll put it in here and I'll drag it to the bottom. It's just the background elements. They're just static elements. And I'll drag that to the bottom. Okay, so let's work with buttons. We're going to start with one button. We will only be creating one button, and then we're going to duplicate it on the stage and change its color by changing the tint in the properties, and we'll assign unique instance names to them as well. So I'm just going to go to my oval tool. And I'm just going to make it a white fill, and I'm actually going to remove the stroke, so there won't be a stroke on it. Okay, so let's make just a circle here. I'm holding my Shift key down to keep it a perfect circle. And I'll start by making a button. I'm going to select it, modify, convert to symbol, button. I'm just going to call it button. It's going to be the only one in my library. Click OK. So let's see. I'm not even going to put a mouse over feature because when we tint them up, it kind of negates that. But I'm going to put this in a movie clip now. So selecting it, and you can see that it's a button. To nest it in a movie clip, we go again to convert to symbol. And this time, say movie clip. And it basically embeds what we have selected into the movie clip. And I'm just going to call it button underscore MC. Okay. So let's go into that movie clip, and that's where all the action takes place for this fade up button. It's slightly like our fade out menu that we did. Alright, so here we are. You notice I'm inside the movie clip now called button underscore MC. I'm just going to name this layer button, and I'm going to span it out to 50 frames. I'm just going to go to frame 50 and hit F5 to begin with. Okay, and I'm going to create another layer here, and this will be for my actions. And you know what, maybe I should create one more layer for my labels. So I'm going to go down to button again and just call this one labels. It's just going to be the one label actually. And now let's click on frame 25 here, and you may have to go control click to isolate. I'm going to click away and then control click and keyframe that, F6, and then keyframe the frame directly after it. So again, just select that frame, F6, and it's here that I'm going to add a label name called go back. So I'll use a capital B on that, go back. Alright, so we're going to use that ultimately for our navigation. My actions also needs a keyframe on this same frame here where it's ultimately going to stop at the midsection, if you will. So just F6 there. Okay, so I've got the basic structure. Let's animate our button. So I'm going to start by right-clicking in the first frame on the button and create a motion tween. Okay, then I'm going to go right away to the final frame and just hit F6 to keyframe that. So what I'm doing there basically is reserving the state of that button. I actually probably should have changed the opacity first. So you know what, let's just do that now. I'm just going to go and select the button on the stage, go to color effect, change the alpha. I'll bring it down to 25. Now, because I keyframed that, I'm going to have to go back to frame 1 and do that again. Select it on the stage, alpha, bring it down to 25. Okay, so now the idea is I'm going to go to the middle with my playhead, keyframe that frame in the middle on the animation. So I'm going to select that frame, F6, then click it on the stage and change its alpha back to 100. And I'll just drag my playhead back and forth to ensure that that works. So it goes from 25 to 100 and back to 25. Definitely a good time to save here. So I've got the animation done. I just need to set up the triggers, if you will. So I'm going to use a mouse over and ultimately a mouse out. But I'm going to go up here and put a stop command right away at the midpoint. If I go to, I could do it through code snippets. You know what? I'm just going to go into my actions and type it in manually. Stop, empty brackets, and semicolon. There we go. Okay, and I'll just collapse that. And if I go back to the original, I'll show you here. If we go in, whoops, went too far there. In here, we've got our stop command at frame 1. It's in frame 1 that we're going to have our mouse overs and mouse outs declared. Okay. So let me go back to my working file here. Go back to frame 1. Select the button. Now here I will give it an instance name. I'll just call it button underscore BUT. Okay. And we'll apply the code there. So I'm going to use code snippets. I'm going to start over here. Just wait for my software to catch up here. And we are working with action scripts, and I am going to go into event handlers. Select it on the stage, frame 1 with my playhead, mouse over event. Alright, so we'll replace this again with a play command. Just delete everything inside of the brackets, but keep the brackets and the semicolon. There we go. So it says mouse over, which will trigger the fade up. Okay, so I'm going to add another event here now. So I'll click it on the stage one more time, and this will be the mouse out event. And the mouse out event is if I depart that button with my cursor, it's going to send the playhead over to this frame and play. That's the plan. Okay, so let's go to mouse out event, double click it, and I'm just going to say go to and play, go to and play, capital A, capital P, and declare between the quote marks, because you need quote marks when you're navigating to a frame label, go back, which was the name of the frame label. It does have to match perfectly, of course. So that's all the code for the fade ups. I'm going to delete some of these comments just to clean it up a bit, which is not necessary, but maybe for clarity I think it might help you here when you're looking at this. Okay, and let's see here, I don't know why that's there. I'll just click that. Alright, so I actually have something I can test right now. I definitely want to save this, and I'm going to do a test movie. Okay, so it looks like I need a stop command in frame 1. That's the only thing I think that's missing here, and that's why we test. So I'll go back to frame 1. I can just go into my action script now, and I can put it at the beginning or the end or in the middle. I'm just going to move that down and manually type it in here, and just put my semicolon at the end here. Save it, test it again. There we go. So it's in its rested translucent state. When I mouse over, it fades up. When I mouse out, it fades off. And that is how we create the fade up button. I'm just going to close this now. So now that I've got one button done, why don't I just put all 6 buttons on the stage? So let's go back to scene 1. And I'm simply going to duplicate this with my Option key on the Mac, Alt key on the PC. Click and drag. There's one set. So this button, I do want it to represent what will ultimately be a green element. So I'm going to tint it. I'm going to highlight it. Go over to my properties, and this is something that you can apply to any movie clip or button for that matter. This is technically a movie clip at this level. I'm going to hit tint, and it actually snapped to the green, which is the color I want. This one I'll make red. Select that, go down to tint, select the colors. Now you can't see them because it's off my screen, kind of cut off, but there's red. Alright, so I'll take both of these sets of buttons now. Option or Alt click and drag and make two more sets. Okay, so I'm just going to change the color on here. This one will be to control a red arm. So I'll just choose the same red here. And then on this one it's to control a yellow arm. So I'll change that to yellow. Okay, again a good time to save. Now while I'm in the buttons, why don't I give them all instance names and we can take care of that business here and now. So I'm going to click on the first button here. I'll call it green, maybe underscore go, underscore BTN. And this red one will be red or green, underscore stop, underscore BTN. Okay, and similar conventions for the rest. Red, underscore go, underscore BTN. And of course, red, underscore stop, underscore BTN. And the last set, yellow, yellow, underscore go, underscore BTN. And then the final one here, yellow, underscore stop, underscore BTN. Save my file. So now I've got all my buttons done. You know what? Why don't I go and take care of the background really fast here? Go down to the background layer. I'm going to keep it simple. I won't even put the text. I'll just put a square box behind it, and I'll make it black. And we'll just draw that down there. There we go. Save. And now we'll create the animated armature. So I'm going to go up to my animation layer. And I'm going to use my rectangle tool, and I'll just select a green fill here. Okay, and I'll draw the green arm like this. Select it, make it a movie clip, or rather, yes, a movie clip. So I'm going to modify that, convert to symbol, movie clip. I'll call it green arm. That'll be the library name, green arm. And I want to animate this. And I want to animate it like the pivot point is up near the shoulder area, so I have to move this center point. Now the only way I can do that is to move the center point with this tool. But I'm going to go into this movie clip, turn it into a movie clip again, and then animate it there. Alright. So here again, I will modify that, convert to symbol. I'm just going to call it green. Okay, and move that center point. So I've gone over to my free transform tool. I'm moving the center point. Okay, and I'll animate this over, let's say, 40 frames. So I'm going to go up to frame 40. I'm just going to span it right now with an F5. And then come back to frame 1, right click it, create motion tween. Alright, then I will go to the last frame, keyframe it, so that'll be the stop point, or the end point will be the same as the beginning point, F6 to keyframe, and then go to the middle with my playhead, keyframe that again with an F6. Now here, I'm going to select it on the stage with my free transform tool and just do a rotate. You know, yeah, okay, so we'll just do a rotate there. Alright, so if I go back here, it does this. Okay, so we're good to go here. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, And we're going to go down one more level now and nest a red moving element. Double click here. So for this, I do need to create another layer. This will remain static, relatively speaking. So I'm just going to go to frame 40, span that out, create a new layer. I'll just call this one red. Okay, and draw a red box, sort of as the middle arm. And I'm just going to draw it here, like that. Okay, I will turn that into a movie clip. Modify, convert to symbol, movie clip. I'll just call it red arm. Okay. Whoops, I hit the wrong button there. Go back here. Red arm. Okay, and we want to animate that at this level. So I'm going to change its center point. So it's like the elbow right here. And then I'm going to convert that frame to a motion tween. Okay, and with my playhead at the end, I'm actually going to keyframe it, F6, and then I'll come to the middle, which is frame 20, and I can select it with my free transform tool. I'm just going to rotate it here, which will auto-generate a keyframe, as you see there. So if I drag relative to the green element, this is how that one moves. Okay, I definitely want to save this. Okay, so the next and final segment to the armature, I'm going to go back to my selection tool, double click on the red, oh, you know what, I need to go back to frame 1 here, double, and pick the right tool, selection tool, sorry. Double click on the red, I just selected the wrong tool by accident there. And we're going to do the same thing here, relatively speaking, so I'm going to expand that out to frame 40. F5, create a new layer. I'll call this new layer yellow. Okay, and I'll go back to frame 1 here, and we'll draw a yellow box. So I'll switch my colors here. And this will be like the hand, the wrist kind of thing, relatively speaking. And I'll make it shorter and smaller, and turn that into a movie clip. Convert to symbol. I'll just call this one yellow arm. Okay, and we'll go and move our center point again, almost like the wrist, so it'll rotate around the axis of that center point. I will convert this first frame now to a motion tween, drag my playhead to the end, keyframe it, F6, and then go to the middle, frame 20, and it will auto-generate a keyframe, so I'm just going to select it with my free transform tool and create the rotation here. So that's the midpoint. So if I go like this, it does that. Okay. And that's the end of the animation. The only thing left to do now is to give each of these levels an instance name and then call them out from the timeline, associating them with the buttons. Okay, so I'm going to go right back up to scene 1. Go to my selection tool, select that whole movie clip, and I'm just going to call it green underscore MC, nice and short, underscore movie clip. Okay, then I'm going to double click on that, and then I will select that movie clip, and we'll call that one red underscore MC. And then I will double click on that and go in there and select that one and call that one yellow underscore MC. So all the prep work's pretty well done here to trigger these animations. So let's go back up to scene 1. Okay, so to take this home, we're going to plug in some code that will allow these buttons to control the different levels. So again, as you know, this is green underscore MC at the top level, so I'm going to make this button start and stop green underscore MC. So let's just go to our code snippets. I've highlighted the button. I'm going to use mouse events. This time I will use the mouse click event. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to replace this code here with the name of the movie clip I wish to control, which was green underscore MC, and then we put a dot. It's known as dot syntax, and I want to trigger it to stop, actually to play. So it's play, empty brackets, and semicolon. Okay, I will need to set up the stop command right away as well, but I'm going to do the mouse out. No, I already did that. I'm going to do the stop now. Yes, sorry. I confused myself. So I'm going to select the stop button for the green. Again, mouse click event. Same idea here, except it's going to say stop. So I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to replace the comments as well as the placeholder code with that. And we'll change the word play to the word stop. And now I actually have something to test. I'm just going to save this and do a test movie. So if I hit stop, it should stop the green, and when I hit the green, it should resume. There we go. So I know that works, so I can continue with the rest. Now the trick here is that this is inside of the green. So here we go. I'm going to select, I'll actually start with the stop button here. Code snippets, mouse click event. And I'm just going to copy this and modify it. So copy the stop. I am going to replace the comments here as well. And we have to add that extra level after the dot. So this is the top level, and inside of that we have one called red_MC. And then I put another dot. And the stop command will stop whatever is immediately to the right. So it's going to stop the playhead in that particular movie clip. We can actually test this now before I attribute the play feature. So if I stop the green, let's see if the red stops. And it did. So we're good to go with that hierarchy. So I'm going to select the go button now for the red. Create a mouse click event. And I'm just going to copy this code and replace the word stop with the word play. Okay, save that, test that. So I'll stop the green, I'll stop the red, and start the red. Start the green. So now I have control over 2 of the 3 elements. So we're almost home on this. Okay, so let's go back here, and I will again select these last set of buttons. I'll start with the stop button, mouse click event. Again, I'm going to copy this line here to save some time. Replace the placeholder code with that, and I'll add that last level, which was yellow_MC dot. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead. I think I do the other button and I'll test them. So I'll select the yellow go button, mouse click event. Again, I'm just going to copy that. Replace the placeholder text and just change the word stop to the word play. Save it. I'm just saving it through the keyboard. So if I have not made any mistakes here, it should be done. So let's do a test movie. I'll stop the green, stop the red, stop the yellow, start the red, stop the red, start the yellow, stop yellow, start the green, stop green. And you can do any combination of these. So that's everything going. That's the red not moving, relatively speaking, of course. And there's the yellow. So that is how we can create control through control nested movie clips that are nested inside of each other. And the other thing we learned today was how to create nice fade up elements as well. And in this case, it's buttons that fade up on mouse over and fade out on mouse out. And that is our exercise for today.